some of the long rebounds, but they limited Michigan to one shot. Michigan, not a great offensive rebounding team, but I thought defensively, especially the last 30 minutes of the game, Villanova did an amazing job.
We're looking live at Lancaster Avenues. They're celebrating Villanova's second national championship in the last 3 years. Their third since the tournament expanded to at least 64, which came in 1985. Villanova won the first one after expansion. And that perfect game against Georgetown. You think about Villanova's past championships. You had the perfect game, the upset of Georgetown in 85. You had the perfect shot, the finish against North Carolina. But this one sort of takes Villanova into the realm of the Giants. By winning this one, doing it in emphatic fashion, they won every tournament game by double figures. What does it do? I don't know if perception is the right word, but you have to earn your way to the next level of the historical greats. What does this win do for Villanova in that regard?
I think this win puts Villanova and its program among the elites. Now, if you want to say the last 50 years and all that stuff, are they with UCLA or all that? No. But if you're talking about in the last 10, 20 years, you got to put Villanova right up there, and especially with the way their culture is now. I mean, this is a program that is built to last and is here to stay. And one of the things I find extraordinarily interesting and gratifying about this program is it doesn't matter who, as long as it's us. So you got Mikal Bridges has a great game. You got Jalen Brunson has a great game. Then Dante DiVincenzo comes in. He's a hero. 2 years ago, Phil Booth is a hero in the game. It doesn't matter who, as long as it's us.
I was going to say, you put that into the legacy of the game. I mean, think about it in the fashion they won 2 years ago. That shot is the new Christian Laettner shot for this generation moving forward. And then to follow that up 2 years later with another championship that is dominance, there's no doubt about it. Jay Wright is in that elite category.
Jay Wright is in an elite category, and obviously for the millennials, and I say this all the time, right now Villanova's the bluest of bloods. But I'm going to give you a little caution. Florida won back-to-back national championships. Now you've got to, especially in the culture of college basketball today, you've got to continue to recruit players, you've got to continue to develop players, and you've got to continue to keep players. Because you know what? As easy as it is to get as difficult it is to get where they are today, let me tell you something. 2 recruiting classes down, and it's very easy to lose it, and see what Florida went through after those championships.
Well, but they still went to the Final Four in 2014, and they've been to Elite Eights and all that. Florida hadn't fallen off the table now.
They had those. I'm going to say, but they had those years where they didn't go back-to-back years.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but I think Jay's point, they were a game away from the Final Four last year, and
they were able to get back because of the brand. But I'm just saying that in the culture of college basketball today, you better continue to recruit, you better continue to develop, and you better continue, if you can, to retain players. Because that's an old team with redshirt, juniors, and very good, talented players.
If I want to start by recruiting Dante DiVincenzo.
Exactly. Jay Will just sent him out the door.
I think about the company that he joined tonight. 31 points off the bench, by the way, best off the bench performance in the expansion era. Okay, the expansion era, best performance off the bench, best performance in a title game by anybody in this area, along with Glenn Rice and Danny Manning, both of whom had 31 in the championship game.
Wow. And most off the bench is Luke Hancock in 2013 against Michigan.
That didn't happen.
No, it did happen. Did you see cannot be erased and will always be remembered.
Actually made me crazy they're trying to do that. Luke Hancock had 22 points, most outstanding player, I think, in the tournament that year. And DiVincenzo might follow that as well. We haven't heard that announcement just yet to see if he was.
If he's not, there needs to be an investigation. The FBI should look into that.
They're a little busy right now, I hear. Much more of the reactions we'll hear from Jay Wright, I'm sure from John Beilein as well. All right, when Villanova's champions again, guys.
Sports Center on the road is confidently presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans.
We'll get you back to Reese and all the important players, and I always find, especially in championship games, losing sound is much more interesting. So we'll hear from John Beilein and all the Michigan particulars as well. That's all straight ahead on this edition of Sports Center.
All the live things you need to see and hear from San Antonio. Plus, they played a baseball game today. And then they played some that they didn't because it snowed at the championship celebration in Houston. And more on Villanova. 2 in 3 years. Jay Wright, class by himself now.
With
the press of a button, you can order 2 medium, 2-topping pizzas for $5.99 each with the new pie tops. And when your
With the events of tonight, I am reminded of the last time Villanova won a title 2 years ago against North Carolina. Ryan Archidiacono to Chris Jenkins for the three at the buzzer and the win. That was after Marcus Page's three had tied it with 5 seconds left. Jenkins capping off a wild ending in the championship game. Villanova won 77-74. At that point, their second national championship.
And the guy who pushed him there on this night, Dante DiVincenzo, the best basketball player to come out of Delaware since Elena Deladon, at least if you're asking me. 10 of 15 shooting, 31 points. He had 2 of the team's 3 blocks. Now we're taking you to the river. Reese Davis and his crew. More from San Antonio.
Villanova just rained in threes throughout this tournament, 76 in the NCAA tournament. That's 15 more than any team ever. And Michigan has been a really good three-point defensive team, but 10 of them, again, in this game. It wasn't the 18 they had against Kansas, but still an impressive shooting performance.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I found out on the biggest stage why everybody was calling him the Michael Jordan of Delaware. I mean, that young man absolutely filled it up when you think about Dante DiVincenzo, 31 points, and that iconic block that he had. I mean, that was big time. That's something that you, as a kid, you want on your poster. Overall, the way Villanova plays as a unit, if it's not Mikal Bridges, if it's not Jalen Brunson, you have Dante DiVincenzo, you have Eric Pascal, you have Amari Spellman. They have all the pieces, and they have way too much firepower for Michigan.
And every mini run that Michigan tried to make, they just answered. Like there was no panic. Early in the game, let's face it, Michigan punched them back. I mean, they were on their heels. But you know what? They didn't panic. You know, Brunson was struggling. They were overplaying. They were running above the three-point line. DiVincenzo comes in. He makes a couple of baskets. The defense improves. They play possession to possession. No one basically gets out of their role, gets sped up. And slowly but surely, they absolutely just take total control of the game.
And they stuck with their defensive game plan for the entire 40 minutes. They ran Michigan off the three-point line. Michigan went 3 of 23 from 3. If they don't hit threes, they cannot score enough points. They forced Michigan to drive it and take tough twos. And you could tell that Jay Wright and the staff were telling them, look, if they backdoor you, that's on us. Don't worry about those because they can't make enough backdoors to beat us. And that's exactly what happened. To hold them to 62 points, there's no way that Michigan can win scoring that few points against a high-powered offense like Villanova. And that was, you know, I always hesitate to say program win. But what that showed was the strength of program that Villanova has, because it doesn't matter which player does it. They've got 6, 7 guys that can come in any game, and they could be the one that hurts you, and they don't care who it is. They really don't seem to care who gets the credit, as long as Villanova's the one that has more points at the end of the game. Remarkable.
And JB, they never seemed frantic. They always seemed poised, even when they got punched in the mouth by Michigan. You know, Jalen Brunson hit the ball a couple of times.
I thought that was great.
I thought it was, one of those
ownership and leadership.
Exactly.
Well, that's because of Jay Wright. He's the first coach in the expansion area. Now he's got 2 national championships. First coach in the expansion area since 1985 to win a national championship with his pocket square never moving.
Well, all good pocket squares stay in place, right? They stay right where they're supposed to.
How about this Final Four, though? 1 McDonald's All-American in the whole game.
And have a look at the celebration going on right now at Villanova. Let's be careful with the fire. I think with all the Villanova fans here, they probably grease the sides of the Alamo the way that they grease all the poles around the greater Philadelphia area. They get a little touchy about Villanova not actually being in Philadelphia, but
it's
the
in
main
Philadelphia,
line.
right? It's the main line, and I'll tell you one thing. They now have a pretty good time at the main line.
Think about that. The Eagles, now this. Wow.
A lot of Philly fans that have been long-suffering. Others have been really front runners and hopped right on that Villanova bandwagon. There's some room. We'll hear from the coaches a little bit later in Sports Center.
Can't believe Reese just bogarted my line, so I'm going to make sure people